To describe my guest's career as diverse is an understatement. Not only has he worked across multiple functions and industry, he's also lived and worked abroad. Whether it's bottom up or top down, he knows how to work with people, functions, or industries. His unique perspective allows him to relate to almost any situation a business or employee may encounter. He meets his clients where they are, and together they build forward. Please welcome today's guest, Todd White. Howdy, good afternoon, good morning, good and dog.
It is indeed. How you doing?
You know, like we said before, I could complain, but who would listen?
Well, if they listen too close, you might get canceled. Who knows?
Exactly. These days, even if you don't.
Yeah.
So, remind us where in the country you are.
I'm in Texas, specifically Houston area. Live in Sugarland.
Oh boy, that's a great neighborhood. This pretty bad weather these days, right?
Yeah, actually today they're calling for. Well, we've had rain and they've
Yeah,
got high winds, maybe tornadoes, some hail, and other things. But all I can do is wait and see.
yeah, exactly. Wait it out. We've got we're in sunny South Florida, so sunny
Yeah,
and 75 always pretty much throughout the winter here. So we're happy.
yeah.
Uh, ClearPeg is your company, and I know we've done some work before with each other, getting to know each other and helping out a lot of people with what we do. And this country is built on small businesses back, and the people who work in these small businesses depend on people like you to help those businesses run smoothly and get through some conflict. And so, tell us a little bit about where you come from and how you started ClearPeg and how you help people.
Well, that's a dangerous. We won't go too far into my sordid background, but I'm a recovering engineer. My first 10 to 15, what I call boots on the ground, knuckle dragging mechanical engineer. Had a whole lot of fun. My last 15 to 20 been strategy consulting. I grew up in a family owned business, watched my father, watched him sunset or lose that, however you want to talk about it, back in the early 80s.
Wow.
That made me very determined to go out and get my degree and pursue my own adventures. I've had my own software company before. I've been in and out of industry. I've lived all over the world. ClearPeg, we started in February 2021 to really focus on professional development.
Yes. And you work with really the managers, the people who are front line working with the forward facing employees, right? And that's the people that really need that leadership touch and those skills, the soft skills they call them, right?
Yeah. Well, it's we have very much a niche play. We look at the B2B side as well as B2C side. So on the B2B side, we look for niche players in the small to medium sized business entities. So they're probably somewhere between 10 to 50 million in revenues, those types of things. They're probably 150 to 250 players, or that
Yeah.
could be a division within a larger company. But we're looking for those folks that are wanting. They recognize the need to build versus try to buy their people, and we've been such a dynamic, tumultuous uh, thing over just the last 2 to 3 years. We've gone from the great resignation to the quiet quitting to the quiet firing to who knows what. And there's such a gap in expectations from the employers, the employees. But we're really focused on what I call the mid career professionals and the
Yes.
middle third of their career, if that resonates with you.
Absolutely. Well, again, these are the people that need your help the most because they're touching those folks. So let's say AT&T loses an employee. Brass doesn't feel it. It's not even a lawn chair on the Titanic. But a company that's at $10 million, if they lose an employee, it resonates. There's a ripple effect that happens.
Yeah.
Within the organization that it causes bad momentum and it causes bad morale. People are picking up slack, and that goes all the way to the top real fast. And the people who have to really deal with that are the middle management to keep the people, the forward facing employees. As I said, okay, we lost a team member, but here's how we're going to get over it, and here's how we're going to bring someone in. But even better, by developing those players, you don't actually lose them as much because they actually have value. They feel valued. They have a voice. And so, tell us the kind of how you bring a company from A to B or from A to Z by working with those middle management folks, and how that has that ripple effect kind of
Yeah.
reversed itself.
Well, there's you've triggered a few things. We So number one, people are constantly asking, "Am I valued? Am I appreciated? Am I in the right role? Am I stacking up against my colleagues or whatever?" And if they ever flip any of those switches, you're in trouble. But if they ever get to the point, "Am I wanted?" You're exposed. And
Yeah.
then really
Yes.
what happens with these people, they're your high performers in a lot of cases, and they're kind of just left to their own accord. So,
Mm.
HR typically gets involved with onboarding people, working with the 10 to 15% of they're just there figuring things out, or they're the 9 to 5ers, just leave me alone. I got other things to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got the top of the organization, they're doing their thing, more than 40, 50, 60, whatever numbers of hours in the week or day it takes. And
Exactly.
they need conversations and calibration or recalibration, but you don't have to, as the leadership team, you typically don't have to focus a lot of effort on those individuals. But this swath of people in the middle, they're
Yeah.
left to chance. Organizations don't train the way they used to. They don't have the budgets
Mm.
the way they used to. So these folks are left to their own accord through TED Talks or whatever they can find on the internet or pick up on some influencer or what have you, or they're just waiting to see. So sometimes they're accused of being complacent. Sometimes they're accused of being too demanding to push and their way forward in their career. But
Yeah.
when you engage with these people, and we look for growth minded people, but when you actually engage with these folks one on one and meet them where they are, they're very appreciative. You're actually kind of creating an insurance policy. You're
Mm.
insulating them from outside poachers. And I know a lot of the people we work with they're high end technology workers, knowledge workers. They're approached literally multiple times a day in some cases.
Wow.
They're highly
Yeah.
valued, and to replace one of those people, it's no small feat. And
Yeah.
I've done the new talent acquisition HR thing. You can get into the situation where it may cost you months to find someone, and to replace them, when all is said and done, it may be 2 or 3 times, and that might be a bit of it. But in some cases, it could be 2 or 3 times what their current salary
Yeah.
is. So if you can insulate and keep those people, you're better in the long term and the short term.
Yeah. I mean, people look at keeping or getting clients and how what they're always doing to go out and find new clients. But when they realize how much easier it is to keep the clients you
Keep
have
them.
happy, uh, they put a lot more focus on there. But that's the same thing applies to your employees.
Oh, and
It's so much more cheaper to keep your employees happy. And my friend Norm Wood says it best when he says that if you think training is expensive, wait till you get the bill for ignorance.
well, some people, I think it's who is the guy? I forget the guy that did all the re-engineering back whatever in the '80s, but he say, well, people, what if I train my people and they leave? Well, what if you don't train them and they stay?
That's a good point. Yeah. So, what your program? It's I imagine it's national based. All right, we're a virtual world now, so it doesn't really matter where they are. Is it one to one? Is it group? And what's the average time of your courses? And tell
Yeah.
us about that. What that looks like.
Well, on the B2B side, where we're married up with the small to medium sized businesses that want to invest and grow their people, we want to understand where they are and what their ultimate objectives are. But the ideal situation, we bundle up a group of their people with a
Yeah.
contract for a year. And we have weekly meetings with those people. They're 50 minutes. They can opt out. But once they're in, they're in. It's third party. It's confidential. So that once the coachees recognize they can share anything, they've got a trusted resource to go to. It really opens up. You think after a period of time you'd run out of stuff to talk about, but you never do. I've got some folks going into their third year now. It depends. So that's one of our models. That's so rewarding, but one on one from a business perspective, it doesn't scale. So we've only got so much room for that. And as we
Yes.
take on more, obviously we hire additional resources. But we've also started on the B2C front with cohorts. People love cohorts now, so they get to meet other people, recognize they're not in this play or in this game or in this world alone. And when you can bring in people globally across different functions, different industries, it's kind of magical as well.
the cohort is the new mastermind, right?
It is to a
Yeah.
large extent.
It is, and it's great because what I love best about a cohort or mastermind, even personally for running them, is I go from facilitating to member, right? So I started
Oh,
facilitating,
yeah.
but as that circle goes, I'm a member, and then I change my hat to facilitator, bring up another topic, and now I'm a participant. So it helps us all grow our business together too. So I get as much out of those things as I give. I find.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have to give, and right now it's add value, give, and then at some point you're kind of you're taking a withdrawal from that account because we're all in business. But it's a matter of you add value. There's no shortage of information, but what people are looking for is a way to engage quickly, ramp up. Our generation was more about making your bones and where can you contribute your time and your energy to make a difference. And it's not that this generation is not like that, but there's so much available information at their fingertips. They just don't exactly know what to do with it. And, the last 2 or 3 years, everybody's kind of been withdrawn or isolated or what have you. They're not picking up on the culture of the business.
Yeah.
They don't have a mentor, or I'm actually a tour mentor in a lot of ways, but you need people to engage with and challenge you. That's how you grow.
Yeah, and then the growth that you're experiencing is folks going, do you do a sort of game planning with them, taking them through a life cycle of an employee and creating growth within their industry, doing any sort of look at outlooks and see how their not only their position can grow, but how their department, because that all impacts, right? So are there kind of growth stuff that you work on as well?
There is one of the, again, I'm a recovering engineer, so I'm very much about processes and models and frameworks. They're very much a safe place to play. But what I've learned, having done literally thousands of one-on-ones, invariably when you get started, there's a there's 5 to 6 things that always come up. What people are concerned with. They're worried about their presence, their confidence, their credibility. How do I get trust? How do I build trust? How do people perceive? How do I drive my client value equation? How do I win new clients? Those elements. But I've got a framework. It's a 5 pillar framework I built out. It's been more than 20 years ago now, but I've just been growing it and building it over the years. I kept it very, very close to the vest for a long time. But when I took on the HR new talent acquisition for the last couple of years, I actually pulled that out, blew the dust off of it, and kept managing growing it forward. But that's literally the way we run our cohorts now, because they're the underpinnings of the human engagement element. And it's very interesting to see how that works. Most people have gotten their degrees, perhaps a master's degree, or they're very functionally or technically fit, but they don't get the nuance of human engagement, or
Mm,
why some people walk into a room and light up the stage or the conference or whatever. Just in social, some people, they're just loaded with energy, and others it's like, how'd that person wind up here, right? But if you don't know, you don't know.
yeah, and maybe they're not engaging them. Also, I mean, you get these people in, and you don't put them in the right seat in the right bus,
Yeah.
and then you wonder why they're not energetic or why they don't like to go and show up. So,
Well,
do you
part of
do
it is
of those 5 pillars? Yeah, do you address a lot
yeah.
of that?
We go through in the cohorts. We go through exactly that. Now, what I've learned through the cohorts is, I don't know if you've ever talked about, prescriptive compared to consultative conversations, but it's it's one of those things. Nobody wants to be told what to do, but people don't
Yes.
necessarily know what to do. So you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, "What's wrong with you?" You say, "Well, you tell me. You're the doctor." And then the doctor tells you without prescribing or diagnosing anything. You don't have any confidence in what's going on. But what I find with people, it's specifically with the cohorts, because you want to play more of a consultative role to a point, but the people don't know what they don't know. So now you got to be more prescriptive. And what we've done in our latest rev of the cohort, we're getting much more prescriptive on, you have to be prepared here, do this. We get into more asynchronous stuff where you're gathering the information, you're watching, learning through the videos and other presentation pieces. Then you're ready to participate in that cohort at a different level. Because if you just enter, we've all been in there in these networking things. Hey, get together in this room and talk about ABC. Well, people get together in the room. So what are we supposed to talk about, right? So you kind of lost. But so we've oscillated, and it's but you go from consultative to prescriptive, prescriptive, consultative. But nobody wants to be told what to do. But at a certain
Yeah.
point in the conversation, I really don't know. Could you just tell me what to do?
And then, yeah, at that point, what I've always found is one of my favorite people, and I don't care what people think about him, is Dave Ramsey. And I don't care what they think about what his advice is, but I do like how he does it.
Uh-huh.
And he says, if I woke up tomorrow in your bed and I had to put your shoes on, I had to go to your job, this is what I would do.
Right.
You know, or when I was in your position, this is what I did that worked. I don't know if it'll work for you, but it worked for me.
Right.
You know, I
Yeah.
kind of find that they go, okay, well, at least if it worked for you, and then better even yet is I tell you what didn't work for me. You know,
I think, yeah. That's an important point. I've listened to. Well, I lived in Tennessee for 12 years, so I certainly picked up on some of Ramsey's things. But oftentimes, a coach E will ask me, "Well, what would you do?" I'm like, "Well, doesn't matter what I would do. I'm not you. We can talk through what worked for me and how it's worked, but things are not
yeah,
the same.
they
They're
still
just
have to do it.
absolutely not.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you got to let them think that. I think the biggest thing that helps people they need to develop a point of view.
So perspective
It's
or an opinion or maybe take a stance. Is that kind of what you mean by that? Like pick a
it's
lane?
it's all of the above. And what you find, like right now, I have very strong points of view. Whether you agree with them or not, we can engage there and have a conversation. But oftentimes, when you ask someone, what do you need? What do you think? What or do you need more consultative or prescriptive? And one of my young ladies that's working with, I asked her, so what's your point of view with regards to a coach or where you are right
Oh,
now and what's happening?
point of
What do you
view.
mean point of view?
Oh, I like
I'm
that.
like, well, that's where are you in the general context of things? Like if you take a child, I use the example of a child learning to tie their shoes, right? So you go from unconscious incompetence to doing something at an effortless level. I cannot have a consultative conversation with a 3-year-old on how to tie their shoes. I may as well go fly a kite. Well, hey Sally, what's your point of view on tying your shoes? What? I've got shoes. So, but at some point they do develop a point of view. And that's why with this one young lady, I don't know, we've been there's just a point where the conversation changed. You go, oh, I know exactly what you mean about a point of view now.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. I like that because they're a lot of times, I guess, agnostic. They're just looking at problems at such a level
Yeah.
that they don't really have a point of view because that's all they've ever done has been putting fires out. So when they finally get engaged enough to to understand what the roots of these problems are, and then get a philosophy of how to address these root problems, they can have a point of view of this is my now my game plan and
Well,
my
this
involvement, my
this
responsibility, maybe.
and you've opened up a whole nother element of Pandora's box because what's happening with we have some of the best educated people we've ever had, right? But in a formalized education system or the way our schools, you're given the problem to solve. Solve this problem. Use this information to solve that problem, and here's the answer. You're gauged. You're given the problem, the solution. You get a grade.
Okay.
Well, so much of reality and life in general, nobody specifies the problem for you. And oftentimes you find people, well, what are we trying to solve here? Well, we're working on what are you working on? And when you get to that point, I've been in situations where they've had improvement objectives going on literally for 5 years.
Mm,
And they didn't know what problem they were looking to solve. They had made assumptions, but it took
yeah.
it took a consultant coming in from Japan to say, no, you don't understand what 5-day inventory means. But and what they thought it was 5 days in each department. No, 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 no. It's 5 days in total across your entire business.
Right. Right.
But
Because they're
that's
looking at the problem through a magnoscope instead of a
yeah.
binocular.
And then when you get to there's some things that are very cathartic once you onboard them. So one for me is decision authority.
Mm,
Do you have decision authority? And if you don't, that doesn't mean you can just obfuscate and run. But if I can't, I have zero decision authority over what type of car you drive or where you live. I have none. It's up to you. I might have some influence on that, but
okay.
I don't have decision authority. Now, he or she or whomever has decision authority also should be the one that's defining the problem.
Mm.
So if you've assigned or got your people or teams working on something and you have decision authority, but you didn't define the problem for them, you better look back in the mirror and say, well, I can see why they're confused, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. No clear direction, and they don't know which way to march. And so they all have a different perspective. And I find it too helpful when you realize that your clients have the heartbeat of your clientele too. So when you're not asking them questions about what your clients would face, what they're hearing back from the clients and stuff, you're just thinking, well, I know better than the clients. You're probably losing some valuable information there too.
100%. And it's, I'm working with a lot of clients globally, learning how to engage with them. And one of the things that I had to change, like, the slight edge advantage that you talk about, one of the things that I understood, early on or started to learn is people say, oh, you need to manage the client's expectations. Don't even try that one, buddy. You cannot manage anyone's expectations, let alone your own. But what you can do is to align with their expectations. And it cycles back on top of, well, what project are we working on? And oftentimes you find, well, the people that bought the project or whatever, they left 2 or 3 years. Some projects take a long time, the sales cycle. So the people that that determined the contracts, ring fenced everything. Now you've got the contract in your hands to deliver it. Well, you're working with people had nothing. So people don't know what the project is. They don't know what the terms were, and so you get into this tail chasing event. But
Wow.
learning early on to align with the client's expectations is one. The other one that came through the school of hard knocks, it's back around decision authority and problem solving, is it's darn near impossible, if not absolutely impossible, for me to care more about the outcome with the client than the client does.
Mm. Yeah, it's true. And that's a big one.
Once you onboard that one, you can sleep a whole lot better.
Right. Yeah, when you come to grips with that.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's not complicated, right? These
But we
things.
make everything complicated, right? We
Yes.
can.
Yeah.
I'm
So
guilty. I'm guilty of that. When we were doing introductions, I work with one of the large consulting houses, but we'd all got together in a big room, a bunch of us meeting for the first time, and you had to describe yourself. And we went around. I said, "Hey, I'm simply complexicated. I lived in South Carolina, so I can make up words for a while." And this other guy said, "No, you're just full of it, man. That's
yeah,
all you are."
I got a guy, Dave Bricker, who always says, anytime you ask him something, he says, definitely, maybe. So
I was
Todd White with Clear Peg. So a lot of people are listening to this and not reading this. They're driving in their car, jogging on their path. It's
right.
Clear Peg, very simple spelling. Todd White, very simple spelling. And
Yeah.
it's Todd with two D's at clearpeg.com, or go to clearpeg.com to learn more about what we're talking about here.
Right.
But tell us a little bit about anything. What's coming up next? What do people need to do to get involved with your next cohort or get you involved with their companies?
Well, we are in the middle of, like I said, we're going from more of a consultative to a prescriptive element.
Hmm.
And what we were finding from people, they're looking for an asynchronous level of involvement. And what that means is they don't just want to watch a video. They don't want to just be involved in they don't want to be involved just in the cohort, but they want to pick up information from different elements and consume that. And what we're in the process of doing right now is the very first pillar of that model is around behaviors that lead to presence, which we've spoken about. But we're in the middle of assembling that entire presentation, getting it into a video format that people can start and stop in modules. We'll be offering that for free, absolutely free for
Wow.
the value. And so if people get out of that if they see the value, then they'll want to engage. And the intent is we would position them for the cohort. And we're looking for growth-minded people. And if you're not growth-minded, if you suffer from what I call a victim mentality or a fixed mindset, you're not a great fit for us, and we're
Yeah.
not a
Need
great
not
fit for
apply.
you.
Yeah. Need not apply. We call that supernatural thinking. If you're just bucking the trend, don't think things are happening to you, but for you, and things are going to happen. And this universe has a habit of putting things in your way to hide the great stuff that's waiting behind that thing.
Yeah.
and it's up to you to get around it to find those things. Those are the kind of people we want.
Right. So once we've got this thing in the can, we'll be launching that in short order. Our next cohort is scheduled to start January the 9th
Wow. Okay.
of this
Right
year,
around
and that's a
right around the
great
corner.
time to plan out your 2024.
Yeah.
Get your mind in the right place, and we're excited to
Industry
get
wise,
this next one going.
doesn't matter the industry. The way the groups share is business philosophy, and people are people.
Absolutely. So to give you an idea, we've had business owners, CEOs, people out of finance, people out of project management. We've
Right.
had people from the country of Georgia. We've had people out of the UK, people all over the United States. We work with people globally, but we're functionally agnostic. We're industry
Good.
agnostic. And it's wonderful to learn how people across different functions process where they are. So if you're in
Yeah.
sales and marketing, you got a different perspective than if you're out of the engineering technical side of the equation.
Right. All right. Well, listen, we appreciate your time. We're coming up on how long people watch these things for. We have some scientific behind that too. Uh,
Yeah.
we are just so interesting. Well, we're not on Joe Rogan's level yet. So, any parting words for our audience?
Be the person you need to be. Step up to the plate. The world needs you for who you are. Don't run from it. And if you're looking to learn something, life will put it in front of you to learn. So if you're looking how to how to get into conflict resolution, be assured somebody's going to put that opportunity right in front of you. But game on, let's have fun.
Absolutely. I say conflicts outside doing one arm push ups waiting on you right now. So, you just be ready for it.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, and I'll be with you to tell you a proper goodbye in a moment.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So, again, another quality guest here on the Slide Edge Advantage. There's so many people that we've had on so far this year. We're coming up to the end of 23. Looking forward to all the great stuff that we're going to see in 24, and more people like Todd are in store for us. But Todd with ClearPeg is somebody you got to talk to if your company is looking to grow, especially if you're looking to get to those that next level with the 6 figures, and you're going to get into the 7, 8, 9 figures, 10 figures. You can't do it alone. You need a team, and your team needs to be focused. And Todd White is the person that get those people focused. Slide Edge Advantage. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. But most importantly, comment. Get in there, write some comments in there about your plans, how you're going to grow your company from 10 to 50 to $100 million next year. I want to see them in the comments so we know how to help you. Slide Edge Advantage. I'm Jeremy Torres. Thank you for watching.